as people are flowing in. We'll wait a couple seconds to allow people to gather.
I am back, Skip.
Sounds good, Dale. People are continuing to flow in. Excellent. Hello, Tina, welcome. All right, well, people are continuing to flow in. We will kick things off. Good morning, Crossroads Nation. My name is Skip Nelson. I'm a financial advisor with 𝘼𝙘𝙩𝙀 Financial and a small business coach, and I am your host this morning, one of the many volunteers that bring you Minnesota Crossroads. We are so thrilled to have you this morning. You're in for a treat, a great session. And so we've got a lot of resources for you. Got a video we're going to be going to with a NHL star talking a bit about his journey in faith. We're going to hear from Mr. 𝘿𝙘𝙩𝙀, who many of you may have heard before, author, presenter, great message. And then we're going to talk about resources that Minnesota Crossroads has for you in your job search, of which there are many. When I went through my job search, I had never looked for a job. I had started my own company out of college, and I fortunately stumbled on this program and was just blown away by the resources and how much help it was to have a plan and the guidance that I received to help put that plan together. So at the end, I will go through and cover a lot of the resources that Minnesota Crossroads has for you, and also how you can get this book, Oh, How Long, Oh Lord, How Long by Dale Kreinkamp. It's a devotional for specifically job transition. And in fact, I'm going to go into it and go with a message that kind of hit me in the book. And I have a question for all of you going through job transition. And the question is, have you really left your old job? Or are you still there? And I know for a lot of people, they get kind of abused and mistreated, they feel. They gave loyal service for many years to their employer and sacrificed for that employer. And then with a management change or something goes on, and all of a sudden they're kicked out the door and feel like they've just been mistreated and just totally unfair, and well, could be. But what Dale talks about in this chapter is the fact that as long as we continue to stay at our old job, even if physically not, if we tried, they may arrest us and have us escorted out. So I don't mean physically, but mentally or emotionally, if you are still at your old job or still resenting or angry, that baggage is going to significantly weigh you down and impede your ability to get your next job. So what I tell people that I coach in job transition is, don't give your former employer that level of power over you. Don't let them continue to have negative effect on you and impede your ability to move forward. But Dale referenced Mark 6:11, where the Lord says, if any place will not welcome you or listen to you, leave that place. Shake the dust off your feet as a testimony against them. And so what God's kind of saying is that, you know, if you're not wanted in a place, like, okay, dust yourself off and go elsewhere. And in job transition, even though it isn't necessarily by our choice, that's what we do, right? We kind of go elsewhere. And a lot of times people see that they kind of continue to let it go over in their head about how unfair it is, and this wasn't right, and I missed my job and all that. And a certain level of that is normal. And if you need to take some time to kind of get through that and go through the mourning process, because it's kind of like a death, that's okay. Take the time you need, but at some point you have to be able to move on, because if you don't, it will impede your ability to move forward. And that is not what God wants, and that's certainly not what any of us want in job transition. And the other thing is kind of give yourself a pep talk. It can draw us down when we're focusing on the past and focusing on, I wasn't good enough, or this wasn't fair, or whatever. And I knew that I had to kind of actively give myself pep talks every day to kind of keep myself up and not let myself get dragged down. And so talk about that I'm good and I've got great skills, and focus on the things that I have to offer. And I repeated that every day, multiple times a day, because that little voice inside your head is incredibly powerful. And if you allow it to be talking about this isn't fair, or anger, or resentment, or self-doubt on yourself, and start beating yourself up, that will come through. So God wants us to move on, and because there are better things in store, better than we can even imagine, that God has in store for you in your job transition. So lean into him and his word, and he will bring you there. So let's join me in prayer as we kick things underway. Kind Heavenly Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for every single person on this call this morning. Thank you for their journey. Thank you for your plan for them that is better than they can imagine, Lord, and just help them open themselves to the resources here at Crossroads and other resources that they come across, Lord, and discover the new plan that you have for them, and how it will be better than they can possibly imagine. In your kind and heavenly name, amen. So we're going to kick things off with a video with a gentleman by the name of Mike Fisher. Now, for those of you that are NHL fans, Mike Fisher is a star NHL player. Has had a long career, is kind of on the, as he references, kind of on the downside of his career. But he had struggles, faith struggles in his journey, and it's pretty inspirational to hear. Sometimes on the outside, when it looks like we have everything, if we don't have our relationship with the Lord in line, we really don't. And so he kind of talks about that. And so we'll view the video, and then I'll come back and I'll introduce Mr. Henry. So let's hear from Mr. Fisher.
I'd get the question, hey, what do you want to be when you grow up? And it was an NHL hockey player. That's all I wanted to do. I remember just the anticipation. I loved to compete. I loved the speed of it. I loved to score. Grew up in Peterborough, Ontario. Peterborough was a hockey town, so it was filled with hockey rinks, balancing that with school and church and family. You know, hockey is stats related, performance based, and that kind of, I think, carried over as a kid into just trying to be a good kid. At 6 years old, I was about to go to school, and I asked my mom if I could ask the Lord into my heart, and I still remember where, and on my knees, and prayed with my mom. At 6, I don't know if you really understand everything. You definitely don't, but it's definitely a start. I left home at 17. I was drafted into the Ontario Hockey League, so I went away at 17 and left family and friends and security of kind of home church, and I was playing with 16, 17, 18, 19, 20-year-olds, and I struggled. I was trying too much to maybe fit in, and I was focusing for so long on what I can't do. I can't swear, I can't drink, can't have sex, can't do all these things. Meanwhile, inside, I'm not focusing on that relationship. It was hockey took over. At 19, I make it to the NHL. I'm making a great salary. I made it. Made my childhood dream, and everything was great on the exterior. Interior, not good at all. Yeah, I remember signing my first contract. I was 19 years old. Just kind of a little bit unbelievable. that should have been, that's every kid's dream, is to sign a contract. And I remember going out that night to a bar, getting drunk, making bad decision, and waking up the next morning feeling like the worst piece of crap that I could ever feel like. There's a lot of inside feelings of a lot of different things. I was letting people down, I was letting God down, and trying to hide, trying to pretend like everything was great. Still go to church, but maybe be hungover, not really into it, but just putting up a kind of a facade. When I did a Bible study with my cousin, who I was living with at the time, at the age of about 22, I get to a scripture. And it's Luke 9:23-25. And it says, if you want to be a follower of me, you have to put aside your own selfish desires, shoulder your cross daily, and follow me. If you try to keep your life for yourself, you will lose it. But if you give up your life for me, you will find true life. What do you benefit if you gain the whole world but lose your own soul in the process? I remember that scripture just kind of hitting me, and that was for me. Because I'd reached my dreams. I had money and everything you thought was cool and just wasn't working, and I knew the answer, but I hadn't been looking for it in the right places. And through a process of just praying and getting in the Word with my cousin, my life was changed. And for the first time, I remember thinking, man, this is really real. It wasn't because of my parents. It wasn't because I was supposed to be in church, but it became real to me. And it didn't happen overnight, but slowly God changed me on the inside, and I started to not worry about the don'ts, but just focus on just pursuing Him. And slowly God started to just bring up stuff, started to confess things in my life that I wasn't proud of, and slowly God just kind of released that. It wasn't religion anymore, it was a real relationship. And it was awesome. Game day, I still get goosebumps. Thankful to be able to do what I love to do. I fail. Definitely, I'm at the back end of my career. I'm a guy that's kind of not very patient at times, and I'm a slow healer. But I finally figured out that it wasn't just about performing. It's just accepting His love. In spite of our failures and our mistakes, that love of the Father is unconditional. And that's a pretty good feeling to know that how much He loves me. My name is Mike Fisher, and I am second.
Thank you, Mike. What a great message. And it just goes to show that we never really know what's going on, right? People seem to have it all, and money and fame or whatever it might be, but that's really not what it's all about. You never know what's going on in the inside. And our job search, same thing, right? We can put out a good show, but we got to be right with inside, or the show a lot of times shows through, especially with employers. HR people are sneaky that way. They're kind of trained to be able to cut through a lot of the show. And so you want to make sure you're good, to put yourself in the best light and get that amazing position that God has in store. So next, what is your superpower? When you got up, if you were thinking about that. Well, if you aren't thinking about that, you should, because Dale Henry has just a fascinating way of looking at life and career and yourself in terms of superheroes. And I think it's just a phenomenal way that he looks at things. Very unique. And I've heard Dale before. He's a wonderful presenter and he got a great message. And we're so lucky to have Dale again this morning. And so he has some great information. Get your notepads out. Be ready to take good notes. And great to see Dale here this morning. Good morning, Dale.
Great to be here. Hey, thanks. Now I got to figure out if I can actually do my screen share the right way here. Move this way. I'm already getting an error message. How's that working out? Can everybody see that okay?
Blank screen for me, Dale.
That was supposed to be my joke. It was supposed to start up after I said that, but it's not starting yet.
Now it's coming through.
Oops, I wasn't supposed to stop.
Still those black boxes at the top now, Dale, that we had before, but we do see a picture.
All right, I already messed up the first time I tried to use that intro. Hey, hi, everybody. I want to make sure I'm trying to hide this bar up at the top here and it's not working. Hey, I don't know how many of you think this way, and I hope you want to have a lot of fun this morning. But I also, what I do is I really help people dramatically improve the results of their effort, get way more done in far less time, and make your work easier, more rewarding, and more fun. So I hope you want to have some fun. But one of the things I'll let you know is I've been a student, practitioner, advisor, and coach, and the principles of elite world-class performance for decades. And I'm going to blow your mind this morning because I'm going to reveal possibilities in your life that you didn't know existed. And because you didn't know they existed, you never even attempted to leverage them to improve your life. Now, this isn't going to be as much as a talk where I'm going to tell you, here's the 3 things we're going to cover and then cover each of those. It's more of taking you on what I hope is an inspirational and at least an educational journey. We're going to kind of go for a while. I hope you kind of get lost in where we are and take notes if you want to, but you can get access to all this stuff later. So you might just want to enjoy the journey. And why we're doing this is we want you to be able to get what you want in life, which is usually a great place to start. And what do you really look for in life? What do you want? We're a lot the same, and yet we're unique. People are looking for a combination of the fact that we have a longing for significance, a desire to make a positive difference in the world, to be known and ultimately remembered for something meaningful and worthwhile. We also simply want to make money doing what we love. And for some people, it's that simple. Other people, it's that what they really want is to make a lot of money doing only what they love, if and when they feel like it, and with and for the people they want, and to experience little worry, stress, frustration, or hassle in the process. Another group, or it's kind of a combination. We want the secret. The secret to what? To earning the money we want while still having the time we need to live the life we truly desire. So it really comes down to a combination of the impact of our work, enjoyment in our work, and the rewards from our work. And I contend, based on all my work, is that it's based on knowing, growing, and leveraging what we playfully call real-world superpowers. Now, no, we're not really, I'm not psychotic and separated from reality and believe there are such things as real-world superpowers. But, and I know, by the way, a lot of you are, hey, I'm responsible, I'm realistic, I'm grown up, I've pretty well lost, like most adults, the ability to leverage our creative imagination to improve our lives. I get it. I'm going to challenge you just for a second. Nobody else knows that you and I are going here right now. But what I do is simple. I help ordinary people accomplish extraordinary things and along the way live an amazing life. But I don't care about anybody else. I want to work with you, help you. And when I do this in person or in public, I laugh about, I don't forget about all the other weirdos in the room. It's just you and I. So I guess it might be a little bit easier for you to think that now. But I want to help you accomplish extraordinary things and live the life you truly desire, not the one society tells you shouldn't be living. And how do I do that? By taking you far beyond where all others leave off in identifying, describing, developing, and leveraging your true strengths. Then we'll help you transform them into what feel and perform like real-world superpowers. And after this talk, if you want, I'll discuss this with anybody to try to, if they think there's a difference between having real-world superpowers and having what feel and perform like real-world superpowers. And why do I do that? To multiply your success in pursuit of your goals and dreams. And a key phrase I want you to remember as we go through is this: multiplying your success in pursuit of your goals and dreams. Now, this is a question that I hope most of you can answer. I'll throw it out there. In your life, could having a few what feel like real-world superpowers help you get what you want? Now, your lines are something like, at least this is what I've heard in the past, is of course it would. So I want to ask a favor of you for you. It's not a favor for me, it's a favor for you. Is for just a few moments, suspend your disbelief. And what I mean by that, I guess it's best described through an example of when we go to the movies to be entertained or inspired, or for whatever reason we go, we have a goal when we go to the movies. And we watch a movie because we want to live the adventure. We want to be part of what's going on. We want to be inspired or whatever. We're not actually living that adventure. We understand that what we're watching is actors in front of a camera on a set, and nowadays with a whole bunch of computer-generated images afterwards. We're not watching the real event. That stuff's already happened. We're watching a recreation of it. But to achieve our objective, our goal, we suspend our disbelief. I mean, we know those are just actors and they probably shot this scene 47 times to get it just right, but we ignore that. We understand, we simply say, I want to believe that this is possible. So with that in mind, just imagine for a moment what it would feel like to have just a couple of good real-world superpowers. I mean, think of everything you could accomplish in your life. Think of the total and unwavering confidence you'd have in yourself and your ability. Imagine the total freedom and maybe control of your life for maybe the first time in your life. The sense of adventure you'd wake up to each and every day. Just imagine how meaningful, rewarding, and fun that would be. Now, I hope I didn't push your imagination too far, and I want you to think and imagine and understand. We're going from an abstract concept of having real-world superpowers, and it's only fair that if I'm going to prove to you or hope I can inspire you to develop or identify real-world superpowers, it's only fair that I give you a definition or a description of what those are, right, in a concrete form. So here we go. Real-world superpowers are consistent, exceptional performance in a highly valuable activity performed as only we can, which requires relatively little effort, is naturally intrinsically rewarding, and energizes us. Now, I know that's a lot, that's a mouthful, but I want to be very clear in what we're talking about here. And I know I get a lot of people harassing me about my variety of colors and underlines and all that kind of stuff. But the colors in here are very important. So you look at the orange, and that talks about consistent, exceptional performance in a highly valuable activity performed as only we can. See, the orange part is the external view. It's what we do. It's what other people see. Now, it also defines our highest, most distinctive value, our greatest strategic advantage for those of you in job transition or managing your career. It's your greatest personal strategic advantage. But it's also our most valuable contribution to society, which is ultimately what most of us are doing the work for. The blue is internal. This is how we feel while we're leveraging those superpowers or those strengths or super strengths or powerful strengths or whatever you want to call those. It boosts our confidence, raises our self-image, reduces things like worry, stress, frustration, anxiety, and brings us joy, fulfillment, and a sense of purpose. A lot of people are looking for meaningful work, and this can help you find it. Now, one of the keys, now, again, when I do this in public, the question is, how many of you can identify right now, can describe your highest, most distinctive value? What you do that's most unique for you, that's most valuable for society or most valuable for your employers? About 95% of the people can't answer that question. And yet, if you think about it for a moment, both for us as individuals, as well as us as job seekers and talking to employers, it's pretty important to know the answer to that question. Not that they're going to ask you about superpowers. So now's probably a good time, or as good as any, to give you a little bit of background and really tell you, as I describe, my superpower story. And yes, spoiler alert, no alien technology is used, no genetic modification. And again, I say with that, if I'm doing this in public, I stand up and go, does this body look like it's genetically engineered? I don't think so. So for me, my story, and this is just an example, not that it's a great story, it's just the one I've lived, so I know it pretty well. My story begins at age 47. Now, no, I wasn't born at age 47. My mom didn't put that much commitment in. But the reality is I went through kind of the normal everyday life. But at age 47, things changed. See, at the time, found myself in corporate management. Now, what I mean by I found myself is I had no intentional plan to get to where I was. I just kind of wandered through the career management thing, had a job, and when that one went away, I went somewhere else, that kind of thing. I didn't have any grandiose plan, so you'll probably learn from other people in this program and have a better plan. But I was responsible for the performance of about 1,200 people at the time. Now, they didn't all report to me, but I was responsible for the performance. But there were a few things I didn't like when I worked there. I didn't like that at the level I was in the organization, they basically controlled my time. They wanted 24/7, 7 days a week, that whole thing. They wanted you to be at the office all the time. And if you couldn't live at the office, at least always have your phone on and all that jazz. But the other thing I didn't like was the politics. There was so much politics at the level of the organization, and I didn't like it. I don't know if I didn't like it because I was no good at it, or I was no good at it because I didn't like it for whatever reason. But the final straw that made me stop coming to work at that location or that job was they let me go. Like so many other people, they let me go. It was finally the last straw. I stayed there even though I liked the people that I worked with and the work that I did, but I didn't like the whole culture and a bunch of other things. But that was okay for me because, like a lot of people, I was actually looking to go independent, and I had a plan and actually started to partner with John Maxwell, if you've heard of him in the leadership space. I had the opportunity to be a founding partner with him, but basically I was really focused on leadership training. So I went independent, and I wanted control of my time. For me, the most important reward or thing in an employment opportunity or a job in my vocation is to have control of my time. Because I'm usually like really good for about 25% of the time. And the rest of the 75% of the time, don't pay me because I'm off doing whatever. But so I got control of my time. Within 6 months, I had created a professional coaching program, and it's basically known as the Professional Coaching Adventure of a Lifetime. And what I do is I help ordinary people accomplish extraordinary things. And at this point, that's really when I came up with that tagline, is that's what I really do. I help ordinary people accomplish extraordinary things. And you know what? I'm a coach. Even when I was in management, what I would be doing is coaching the people around me to succeed. I wasn't focused on my career. Now, that was probably to my detriment for quite a while, but that was just who I was. Once I understood that, though, I changed the work that I did. I had a couple companies at the time, but I changed what I did around leadership. And I was a leadership advisor and performance coach. And what I did was I developed great leaders of great teams throughout your management team to create incredible companies. And that, when I got clarity around that, it changed everything. Over the next 8 years, I quietly, because I'm not one that tries to stand out in a crowd and be a celebrity influencer or any of that kind of stuff, improved the performance of over 1.2 million people throughout North America. But I'm nobody special. I'm just an ordinary person. My neighbors have no idea what I do. They probably wouldn't care. But how does an ordinary, normal, everyday person get invited into over 50 Fortune 500 companies? Some of them with non-disclosure so tight, I can't even tell you I worked with them. You can probably guess who some of those companies are, but I can't tell you. So how does a normal, everyday person like your neighbor get invited into those companies? Well, the answer is my superpowers. Now, again, if superpowers is too much for you, I'll give you one last chance. Think of them as strengths, kind of like super strengths or super powerful strengths, or superpowers for short. I only have 2, as I claim it: helping ordinary people accomplish extraordinary things, and filling businesses with great leaders of great teams who know exactly how to build high-performing teams. Now, that's great, kind of like marketing statements or what have you. But let's go down inside those a little bit. Helping ordinary people accomplish extraordinary things. How do I do that? I have the uncanny ability to find, encourage, develop the greatness within each person I coach. Now, how do I do that? Or what's the definition of greatness that I use? It's the unique combination that each of you have. It's those current strengths and future potential. So that's what I mean about helping ordinary people, or how I help ordinary people accomplish extraordinary things. And filling businesses with the great leaders of great teams, how does that work? Well, I develop teams of strong, I only work with management teams. I don't work with individuals in this side of my businesses. I develop teams of strong, effective, truly influential leaders who know exactly how to build incredibly high-performing teams. What is that? How does that break down? Well, I work with entire management teams, like I said, and I help them adopt the world's most valuable leadership model. There's 3 components to this: adopting the most valuable leadership model for business, help them apply what I call the easy model of incredible performance. It's all these principles about performance. And then I help them practice the 10 principles of world-class teamwork. I say we simply do those 3 things, and that builds those strong, effective teams that I talked about, of leaders that know exactly how to build high-performing teams. That's it. Now, on my coaching side, my coaching strengths, I have 3 things that I talk through. I creatively challenge and expand your thinking and beliefs to open up entirely new possibilities in your life, new levels of enjoyment, achievement, and success. Now, one of the things I'll tell you, if you notice this description of my strengths, besides my bizarre use of colors, that's intentional. It may not be valuable, but it's intentional. You see the word "to," that's a transition into the yellow part of my statement of strength, is it tells the other person it's the benefit that it provides them. Why should somebody work with me as a coach? Well, if you're looking for new levels of enjoyment, achievement, and success, that's at least what I say that I do. So if you're looking for that, great, maybe we should talk. If you're not looking for that, I'm not your person. But the point is, when you describe your strength, you want to tell the other person why they care, especially if we're seeking a job. We don't want to just say, I'm good at something, and this is the value it will provide to you. So I focus on thinking and beliefs. The second thing I focus on is what we're here to talk about, is taking you far beyond where all others give up and leave off. I know I've studied all the other people in this area. I've been in this area for 30 years. I get it. I want to help you identify, describe, develop, and leverage your true strengths. Now, I just talked, it says describe. I'm going to help you describe your strengths. I just did that in the point above. Number one, about thinking and beliefs. I told you about the benefit statement. But I want you to leverage your true strengths, not what a personality assessment tells you. That's a personality assessment, not a capability assessment. But why do I want to help you really understand and leverage your strengths? To multiply your success in pursuit of your goals and dreams. There's that phrase again, to multiply your success. The third thing I do is make personal growth fascinating, fun, and energizing part of your life. Why? First, unlike so many others, I don't want you to ignore this critical element of success. If you don't continue to personally grow and develop yourself, you're going to be at best a one-hit wonder. Nobody is on top by doing the same thing over and over and over again. They have to continue to grow and bring people along behind them. The other reason you want to continue to develop and have a personal growth plan is to make your work easier, less time-consuming, and more fun. The better we are at something, the easier it is. Kind of obvious statement, yet not a lot of people think that way. Most people get to a part in their life, and unfortunately nowadays it's pretty early adulthood, and think in our minds, I'm as good as I'm going to get. So now I just start playing defense in my career. I start trying to hold other people down. I turn into that bad boss or whatever. The idea, if we're personally growing and continuing, besides getting better, we're energized, we're excited about the things we're learning. We're excited that we're better this week than we were last week and all those kinds of things. But so what you'll see is I focus on three things: our thinking and beliefs, our true strengths, and personal growth. So when I finally understood, and again, this is my late 40s, early 50s, how my impact grew once I truly understood and could describe and leverage my true strengths. So look at the first part of my career, kind of the normal thing. I started out managing a team of 20, and after several years, got to be the director of a practice of 200. Then I decided to develop my strengths in the area of leadership. I got really obsessed and focused. And then over the next few years, as I said, I became responsible for the performance of 1,200 people, or 6 times more people. But then, as I said, when I figured out the whole superpowers thing, over an 8-year period of time, that went to 1.2 million. Now, if you look at these charts, that number right there is the same as that number right there, which means this line with that slope is the one over here that looks like a flat line. Now, how is that possible? Well, if you look at the charts, I had to change the scale on the axis to let the 1.2 million show. Why? Because that was 1,000 times more people, and I cared about impacting people. There was 1,000 times more people that I impacted once I understood this concept that we playfully call real-world superpowers. Now, what are these charts telling us? This is what the typical career management process does. Or strength-based can multiply that by 6, and look at what you can do with a couple of real superpowers. Now, the most powerful thing here is the superpowers are 1,000 times more impactful than strengths, but they're 6,000 times more practical than what most of you are doing in your career. And that's what I mean by multiplying your success. That's what multiplying your success can do. Now, the real question then is, do you want to live your whole life down here, or maybe spend at least some of it up here. Because it all comes down to what do you think? Because that's what matters most. Why do I say that? Well, the foundational law of human performance tells us that our thinking drives our behavior that determines our results, the conditions, circumstances, and outcomes in our lives. So if we want to change our situation, if we want to improve our outcomes, we have to improve our thinking. That's simply how the world works. There's no other way for it to work. This is how human brains, human minds work. So to help you, I've got to change how you think and what you believe about your strengths. Because the reality, at least in everything that I've found, is the secret to success is that when we're leveraging our strengths to achieve our goals and dreams and unlock our potential, life feels almost effortless and is much more meaningful, rewarding and fun with little worry, stress, or frustration. Now, does that sound like a pretty good place to live? And see, the truth about success is it all begins with leveraging our strengths. And if we don't know what our strengths are, life is going to become this random chase or journey of trial and error. But unfortunately, most of us, especially those people in the corporate world, are taught completely the wrong way to do this. In the corporate world, the number one personality assessment, well, I guess DISC is out there now too, but was StrengthsFinder. And it's now been rebranded to Clifton Strengths. And it's a personality assessment from the Gallup organization. And if you've taken that, that's great to understand your personality. But if you want to learn about strengths, you have a lot more to learn, and there's a few important things we have to unlearn. Because StrengthsFinders is a personality assessment, not a capability assessment. It doesn't identify your strengths. An assessment on a sheet of paper really can't do that. So the key part is, so many people take StrengthsFinder and go, that's great, that's really interesting. Now I understand my personality, but now what? Most people have taken that assessment because they want to understand their strengths, because they want to improve the performance in their job. And it's a personality assessment. It doesn't actually do what it was marketed to do. As it turns out, who you learn about strengths from matters a lot. So now let's talk, and I'm just going to go through this real quickly, but the real story of strengths. See back in, and this is, again, for those people that have taken the StrengthsFinder thing, because I need to tell you a story now, and we've got a story inside a story. But it's a story most people don't really know about. It's the real story of strengths. See, back in the 1990s, Donald Clifton, who owned the Gallup organization with his brother Jim, hired Marcus Buckingham, who was a research analyst. And for, I can't remember how many years, but back in the 1990s, they were studying what the leaders of high-performing, highly engaged teams did differently than the leaders of all other teams. And by the way, Gallup actually introduced or invented the concept of employee engagement and that terminology. But they were research analysts. They were psychologists and research analysts. And I was one of the people that they were studying back then. So I was a practitioner in the field. And we kind of jokingly said they got the answers to the questions they asked. And they interviewed us, they observed us. We jokingly say like alien abductions, they probed us in all sorts of inappropriate ways. But the reality is they weren't practitioners in the field. So they didn't always know the right questions to ask. So there was something about strength-based performance that they got right, some things they didn't quite get right, and some things they completely missed. And what I want to tell you right now is the most important part that they completely missed. See, the foundation of it all, the true power behind strength-based performance has nothing to do with personality. It's not a personality assessment. It's the Pareto principle, or commonly known as the 80-20 rule or the 20-80 rule. The idea that you would get disproportionate benefit from certain activities. Most of our performance and our results come up from a small piece of our activities. So about that 20% of our effort that gives us 80% of the results. I got a question for you. How much more productive is that 20% that gets us 80% of our results than the other 80% of our effort that only gives us 20% of our results? That 80% combined only gets us 20%. Now, I kind of laugh because almost no one knew the answer. So I finally put a slide together. As soon as I put a slide together, somebody knew it right away. But you look and you say, okay, so let's do the math. 80%. So what's 80 divided by 20 divided by 20 divided by 80? And if you say the answer is 1, because you hope, because there's a lot of numbers, it's 5th grade math. But the reality is that is 16. That 20% is 16 times more productive than the other 80% of what we do. And that should excite people. Companies that I work with often look to get 5 or 7% increase in performance. And I'm saying, hey, look at this one principle. You'll get 1,600% better, faster, more valuable, whatever the measure is, whatever the applicable, why it's applied. This is why we talk about it being a golden rule, if you will, or the silver bullet kind of thing. Now, the obvious question is, okay, what fuels that 20%? What makes that possible? Well, of course, the answer is our strengths. Our strengths are what fuel that 20%. But how do we feel as an individual as we're performing? What's really going on there? Because, hey, we're humans. We make emotional decisions. We try to validate them with reason and rationale afterwards. Well, we care about how we feel. How do you feel when you're playing these strengths? Obviously, you feel strong. You feel powerful, confident, alive, unstoppable, all these kinds of things. You're in the zone. Or, I can be pretty simply minded sometimes. And I basically say we feel really, really good. So if we look at it in summary, the good news about strengths is that when we leverage our strengths, we feel incredible and are incredibly productive. Now, the other side of the equation. If you don't believe these numbers or haven't felt this way in your work, it's because you're not leveraging your true strengths. Now, how can I be so confident in knowing that? Well, I've done the research. I follow the research. I work in the industry. And unfortunately, the latest, what I call valid study, shows that less than 20% are playing to our strengths in our daily work. In fact, as it says in the lower corner, it's almost too depressing, but the most recent report said 12% of us leverage our strengths in our daily work. In other words, over 80% of us could be working at 20% or less of our potential. Say that again. I know that 80 to 90% of the people on this call need what I do, which is kind of target-rich environment for me, but this isn't about me. It's about you. So understanding that you're working at 20, so many of us are working at 20% or less of a potential. That's huge upside. You have huge amount of upside in your careers. Now, how does it feel when you're not playing to your strengths? And this is where, if you do have a sheet of paper and a pencil in front of you, I want to ask you to do something. I want you to sign your name. Just go anywhere on the sheet of paper, go ahead and sign your name. And above that, please write, I owe Dale Henry $5,000, and then mail that to me, and that'd be great. But now what I want you to do is take your pen or pencil and put it, nobody uses pencils anymore, Dale, your pen in your other hand and sign your name. And again, when we do this in public, what I love, because it's always the same, is people get restless. You hear them moving around on the table and their chairs squeaking and all this stuff, and they kind of giggle and laugh, and they're uncomfortable. And then the room goes dead silent because people are concentrating so hard, trying to write their name, trying to sign their name in their opposite hand. And what I will tell you is that most of us don't realize we're stuck voluntarily because we choose the jobs that we accept. But we're stuck living as our superhero secret identity, writing the story of our life with our eyes closed using our bad hand. And what I mean by that, our eyes are closed because we never realized the difference between playing to our strengths and not playing to our strengths. And I say we're living our life writing with our bad hand. Imagine trying to take notes of this conversation, or like everything that shows up on the screen, because I know nowadays people like to see the words in slides. If you were trying to, copy all this down as we go along, writing with your bad hand, you'd be crazy, you'd be anxious, you'd be frustrated, stressed. That's what most people are in their jobs, because they're not playing to their strengths. So they're using their bad hand, writing the story of their life. Now, humans are pretty adaptable. And unfortunately, we become used to writing with our bad hand or not playing to our strengths. So we're kind of okay with it. But how do we feel? Go back to the original question. We feel stressed, frustrated, unfulfilled, all those kinds of things. Or as I say, simply not very good. We don't feel great when we're not playing to our strengths. And we're left, we settle for a life that's so much less than we're truly capable of, which is sad and completely unnecessary. So the question for you all is, what percentage of your time in your career do you play to your true strengths? Or even a more foundational question of, do you even know what they are? And I'm not talking just about somebody saying, especially in job transition, to say, hey, I'm really good at sales. Well, what does that mean? Destination sales, corporate sales, business, what good at sales? That's almost meaningless to me anyway. So we need to break it down, because we're going to repackage it and reposition it to make it a more valuable statement. So break it down first. If you're good at sales, do you easily engage and instantly connect with almost anybody around you? Rather, if it's in a work setting, a church setting, a neighborhood organization, is this what you mean? Or do you know your buyers so well you could essentially impersonate them so that you know their next want, need, and desire? Or by being good at sales is what you really mean, that you have an uncanny ability to identify the exact solution for your client's truly greatest challenge, even if they don't really understand what their challenge is. Or if you become such a trusted advisor that you have the mind control-like influence of a Jedi Master. Now, a little tip of the hat to Star Wars, I guess. Or, as one of my clients talked about, have boundless energy for and excited by the challenge of successfully navigating the ever-changing political obstacle course, for successfully developing successfully selling, highly complex software solutions to large bureaucratic organizations. Now, that may be a huge mouthful and not mean anything to you, but think about the recruiter that's supporting the sales team at SAP or Oracle or any of the large software as a service organizations. This person in the header of their resume completely connected with that recruiter because they knew that it takes a lot of energy and you got to be excited by the challenge. And by the way, selling software to large bureaucratic organizations, especially when it's complex software, is a political obstacle course or minefield, probably even better. See, this wasn't written for you and me. This was written for the recruiter for that sales team. That's where this person wanted to work. And that's why we transitioned from being good at sales to speaking the language of the people that we're hiring. Now, do you think this person got an interview? Or probably just got an offer straight out? But yeah, it worked out really well in the end. So now you can stop living your life the hard way whenever you decide to. And that hard way is usually filled with frustration and quiet anxiety. So we can stop voluntarily spending our life doing things that we don't want to, that we don't think are meaningful, worthwhile, or rewarding just because somebody else tells us we have to. If we can identify our superpowers, or whatever you want to call those super valuable strengths that we have, we can move forward in a different path in our lives. So usually I take a break here. I want to actually see how I'm doing for time. And now I don't know my time, so I don't know how I'm doing. I should have been better at that. But I hope this makes sense. And I can answer any questions, or we can connect on LinkedIn, however, if you want. By the way, if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, again, my name is Dale Henry. Hopefully you can follow me, or you can find me. But I want to let you know, please let me know you're coming from, or we're connecting through the Crossroads group, because otherwise I'm not really I'm not accepting connections anywhere. But if you think I can be helpful for you, or any of this is helpful, I want to do that for you. So now I'm actually going to skip over this section that was basically about if people have taken strengths finders and want to help you understand it's only personality, it's not your real strengths, but we don't have time for that. So we're going to jump. So what are these true strengths that I keep talking about, and why are they such a game changer? This is probably the most important slide, and it's basically an identical slide I've used for about 25 years. But what true strengths are is excellent performance in an activity which requires relatively little effort or seems easy to us. So that's kind of the generic definition of a strength. They're made up of 3 ingredients: personality, knowledge, and skill. What do I mean by that? Personality is who we are. Knowledge is what we know. Skills are what we know how to do or what we can do. There's always an action with a skill. And I don't want you to get too worried about the difference between knowledge and skill. But understand our personality is different. What do I mean by what's important? Why do I make that distinction? First of all, our personalities aren't learnable. If I'm an introvert, I can learn skills to make me appear more extrovert, but still internally, I'm an introvert. Any kind of personality assessment, it's kind of the personality is our hardwired side of us. Knowledge and skill, of course, can be learned, of course, can be added. Now, the difference between knowledge and skill in this case is knowledge can just be learned. I can read in the book, 2 + 2 is 4. You know, in reading a book, I learned how to read. Okay, so I know how to do it. A skill needs to be practiced. So, you know, you can look at an NFL quarterback and say, hey, they're all different. This one person knows how to read a defense, so he knows what play to call. Other people can throw a pass just the right way. They know when to throw it hard, when to throw it soft, when to put a big arc on it, all that kind of stuff. You know, they can understand the knowledge. They can acquire the knowledge that says, okay, if there's a guy standing between me and who I'm trying to throw it to, I have to throw it high. Pretty obvious. But the skill to do that, it takes time to practice. So those are really the differences there. But the key part to understand is personality. And again, if you've taken the Strength Finder personality assessment, understand you're only getting the orange or yellow or orange side of this. You're not getting the other side of it. And why is this so important? Because knowledge and skill actually determines how well we do something. If I don't know the rules of football, if I don't understand how to throw a pass, I probably shouldn't be a quarterback in the NFL. But our personality determines how we do it. Our personalities are our style. And why is this separation important? Because to create and grow our strengths and develop strengths into superpowers, we're adding knowledge and skill. We're adding very specific, highly valuable knowledge and skill. Our personalities make us unique. I would tell you in all my study, all my work around strength-based performance and high-performance teams and all of this work, I work with a lot of PhD organizational psychologists and people with all tremendous formal educations and I talk about superpowers and, you know, superhero missions and all this other stuff. The people with all the letters after their names would never think about this stuff, except for maybe saying, you know, what color is your cape, you know, or how to, and of course, anybody with superheroes know you don't wear capes because you get sucked into airplane engines and stuck on missiles and all that kind of stuff. So, but our personality makes it unique. How well we do something, how we create and grow our strengths is based on knowledge and skill. So how does this play out? For leadership, the classic question is, are leaders born or are leaders made? Now, once we see this formula or this recipe, it's very clear and very obvious. First of all, that's not a valid question because our style is determined based on our personality, but our effectiveness or our strength or how good we are at leadership is based on our knowledge and skill. I do leadership training. Leadership operates on laws. Understand those laws or principles, and you'll be a better leader. I don't care what your personality is. I've trained as many spreadsheet introverted leaders as I have the other word, extroverted, charismatic leader. It's not about style. It's about knowledge and skill. Now, for those of you in job transition too, it's important to understand knowledge and skill can be acquired in multiple ways. So just because a job description has work experience or formal education, all you have to do is understand how to explain you have the knowledge and skill that HR person assumes that if you were to get this work experience or have this formal education, that you would understand. So the key part here is just because we don't have the degree or the requirements. I got a master's degree and they had prerequisites before you could apply for the program. I didn't meet any of the prerequisites. I got straight A's in the program because I cared about it. I acquired the knowledge and skill because I was motivated to do it. So don't think that you have to meet those requirements. We just have to figure out how to communicate that we have what those requirements were set to tell us. Now, the key part of this chart is understanding our personality describes our style and how we can have unique strengths or unique superpowers where we don't compete with anybody else. On the other side, knowledge and skill tells us how well we're going to do something and what we want to add to create a strength or create a superpower. So what I'm saying right here, right now, if we want to make our work better, or make our work easier and more rewarding, get better at what you do. Spend some of your time getting better right now while you're working in job transition. And everybody says, I work all day long, all night long, trying to get a job. No, you don't. We can't, because people aren't out there. I mean, and it's a great time for personal development. And by the way, learning stuff, getting smarter makes us feel better. It strokes our ego. So I encourage you to do that. The secret to incredible performance, and this is kind of the golden nugget, is to leverage our strengths, or if we can, leverage our greatest strengths in the most valuable way as much or as often as possible. That's simply the key to performance. And if only corporate managers could think more like athletic coaches, where they understand the strengths of their people and even design plays to get the new college recruit that's really fast, but doesn't understand any of the professional plays. We're like, okay, we're just going to get Joe the ball, and Joe, you go run until somebody hits you. And I mean, it's the idea of when they start designing plays specifically for the strengths of their team. Corporate managers should think that way, but for whatever reason, they don't. And it isn't rocket science. If you simply look at the value of the work times how well we do it, times how much we do it, how often and for how long, that determines the value we create in our work. Now, the value of the work is constant. A job description or a role has a certain amount of potential value. It depends upon how good the person is that does the work and how often they do it. That's simply, this is the formula. And you'll notice style isn't in there at all. Style, we don't, people that, again, you take the Strength Finder assessment and you go, well, that was interesting, but I want to develop my strength. And I say, yeah, that's why you want to add knowledge and skill. So the elephant in the room question for all of us is, are we currently doing, and when we look for that future job, are we doing the most valuable work, or really at the activity levels? Because a strength is an activity. So you want to match that. You want to align those. You don't want to look at personality and role description, because a role is made up of a whole bunch of activities and our personality is only part of what our strengths are. We want to look at the activity level if we can. Are you currently doing the most valuable work that you can do well? Not the most valuable work, because if we're not very good at it, besides hurting our ego and being all anxious and all that kind of stuff, we don't create a lot of value. So we shouldn't be looking for the best or the most valuable job there is. We should be looking for the most valuable job that we can do well. Now, there's a couple cautions in here. Be careful you don't get talked into from somebody else who's trying to upgrade their team and say, hey, you're better than the person we had in this spot, so we want to bring you on your team. But you're not doing what you're best at or what you're great at, because their goal is to upgrade their team. And if they can find like your third best strength and make money or create value for their clients, they're going to want you to do that. You're going to want to identify the thing that you're best at and the thing that you want to do. See, this issue is they're going to look for what's most valuable for them and not you. You want to be focused. And this is where we want to be a little selfish, because ultimately we know we can add the most value, and we're going to make both our clients and our employer the most happy when we're playing to our area of strength. Manager-assisted suicide is getting promoted out of our strength zone. I managed a consulting operation for years, but I realized pretty quickly is although I got really good results doing that, what I really liked is working with clients. For me, that interaction was what energized me. I loved working directly with the client. So I got out of that management thing, even though, again, I got good results at it. I loved working with the people on the front line. So the question for all of us is, am I spending most of my time most valuably using and growing my greatest strengths? And if I'm not, what do I do about it? And this is all about real world superpowers. And I apologize, Skip, if you want to introduce or interject. I do not know where I am in my time. I'm sorry. And I don't want to go much over. So, but looking at this, we got to look at this at 3 levels. Talents, which is what
You're good, Dale. You got about another 10 minutes.
10 minutes, thanks. Talents are what our personality assessment tells us. They're recurring patterns of thought, feeling, or perception that are core to our personality. Personality is all about action. It's all in our head. And any personality assessment stops here. That's the only thing you can test through that kind of online test. Strengths are excellent performance in an activity, which requires relatively little effort. So there needs to be skill for a strength, because that's the only thing that has behavior or an activity. But the problem with strengths is may not be valuable, unique, or rewarding. If I learn how to juggle and I spend all my time juggling in my backyard, who cares? Doesn't make any difference. If I juggle at like kids' parties or whatever, you know, I'm entertaining some kids. If I get so good and create a performance that I'm now at Las Vegas, that's a whole different thing. So a strength, we want to position it so that it's most valuable. So this is that same definition of a superpower: exceptional performance, highly valuable activity, performed as only we can. Relatively little effort, which is great. And it's naturally intrinsically rewarding. Just by doing it, we feel reward and energized. It actually creates more energy than it consumes. That's really what we're looking for. So talent is that 20% for our personality. Strengths are our 20% for our current performance, but superpowers are our 20% for our future potential. Again, if we're adding knowledge and skill, specific high value knowledge and skill. Potential is one of those things people always talk about, is like, hey, that's really cool. That's wonderful. I don't even know what that means. So let's talk about some kind of description of what potential is. The question is, how far could we go, or how good could we get at something if we just intentionally did something about it? If we took a course, if we invested time, if we bought whatever it is. Now, how good, if we decided to become a chef, how good could we be at it? If we took these programs, spent our evenings doing this or whatever. The same, you know, if I wanted to play golf, how good could I get? How far could I go? All those kinds of, what could we accomplish and who could we become in the process? And it's not about how much it costs or how long does it take. Nobody ever looked back in their life and went, this part was stupid because it didn't get me where I wanted to be, or I didn't do this because it cost too much. It's not about that. So really, in kind of reframing this, it's potentially how far could we go, or potentially how good can we get if we just intentionally did something about it. Same thing on accomplishments, or who could we become if we intentionally created a plan to get better at X, Y, Z and positioned ourselves to leverage that as valuable. Where could we go? How do you feel when you're leveraging your superpowers? Euphoric, ecstatic. Those are those people that wake up on a Sunday or go to bed Sunday night, can't wait to get up and get to work on Monday morning. That's the reality. We think they're on drugs. They're not. They're actually on, you know, endorphins from their work. We feel the best when we're leveraging our greatest strength in the most valuable way the vast majority of the time. And it doesn't make any difference if you're a baker, a mechanic. Everybody can be incredible at something if you invest your time and effort into it. When done right, it feels like an effortless artistic performance. You're completely relaxed, totally confident, fully absorbed, and joyfully immersed in your craft. Think of great musicians when they come out on stage. Are they freaked out? Are they worried about their performance? No. They're laughing, they're joking with the stage hands, talking to the band as they walk up to the microphone or whatever. Or professional athletes, they get paid to play a game. So when it's done right, it feels like play. And it's not just athletes or musicians who get paid to play. It's anybody that develops and leverages what, again, we jokingly call real world superpowers. So thinking about your work, are you excited or anxious? That Sunday night, are you excited for Monday morning, well after you are into the job? Because you shouldn't have to do the work that you do. You should get to, you should want to do the work. You can truly love doing what you're doing. And how do you know? The simple thing, if you love practicing, you love adding knowledge and skill, if you enjoy practicing as much as performing, you're probably in your superpower zone because it's both intellectually interesting and emotionally engaging. So now what? What I really do is coach and equip people. And by coaching, I mean bringing out the best of what's in you, and equipping is adding whatever else you need so that you can live into the amazing life you truly want, get the extraordinary results you're looking for, and in the process, become the incredible person that deep down inside you've always wanted to be. And you'll have a lot of fun in the process. Because whether you have a longing for significance, a desire to make a difference, you simply want to make a lot of money doing only what you love, or you want that balance of earning the money you want while still having the time you need to live the life you truly desire. It's all about leveraging your superpowers. Now, I'm going to just in 2 minutes or so, by the way, you can get a full replay of this and a little bit more. You can cover the parts we had to skip. At that website, I want to make sure people see that. It's activateyourrealworldsuperpowers.com. And what I also want to introduce now, because I'm going to give it to you for free, is for those people who are interested, is the actual program called Activate Your Real World Superpowers. It's about a 5.5-hour coaching / self-study program. It's all about the principles and tactics of world-class strength-based performance. We'll show you how to get 30 times better results than what Gallup presents in their world. What you're going to get is you're going to get 4 methods on how to identify your strengths: the characteristics of a strength, the emotional feelings of it, the formula or recipe on how to identify, and a step-by-step process to identify your strengths, and some coaching questions. Then what we're going to do is really get deep into your style, because once you understand how to control and truly master your unique style, your strengths absolutely come to life, and you can market yourself in job transition as unlike anybody else. Then what we'll do is show you how to transform your strengths into what we playfully call real world superpowers, or things come so easy to you, you can't believe you get to do the work, all those kinds of things. And remember, this is the definition of a superpower, and key is your highest, most distinctive value. Then we're going to cover how do you best reach your potential. We're going to give you 3 different strategies and kind of help you get past that feeling stuck bit. And then there's a complete plan on how you do that. On the flip side, what most people don't ever talk about, we're going to give you the 5 strategies in priority order on mitigating your weaknesses so they don't negatively impact your results and no longer hold you back. Then, especially valuable for people in job transition, we're going to help you establish your personal brand by identifying what we call your call sign and your tagline. My tagline is helping ordinary people accomplish extraordinary things. You'll see, by the way, most of the earlier part when I was talking about myself, I have done all this stuff myself, and that's how I got those slides and the descriptions that I provided to you earlier. And then some tips on, again, for those people in job transition and managing your career, there's another set there. So what you get in the program, and I'm only promoting it because I'm giving it to you for free, is these things. You're going to understand your true strengths. You're going to understand how to develop and describe your truest, your highest, most distinctive value. We're going to give you your call sign, which is, ways that people think about you, your tagline. Both of those things make you far more memorable in the job transition. A plan for personal growth, mitigating your weaknesses, and then really managing and intentionally leveraging your personality in a way nobody else talks about. We haven't yet recorded this. I think we might actually work with Crossroads to record this bonus about finding your life's purpose, or what we call your superhero mission. Most people are never going to know this stuff about their career. I'm always shocked when I come into organizations and almost nobody can really describe what they're good at in any meaningful way. So we want to get that all for you. So the question is, now you know the story too, kind of sounds like Dr. Seuss. So the question is, what will you do? So for those people that are interested in going through the full 5.5-hour coaching and, the workshop kind of drill, go to realworldsuperpowers.com. Usually the self-study version is just about $200. What I want you to do is use the coupon code Golden Ticket, and that will give you the program for free. There's 500. I still think there's some left, or enough left for this group to get people through. But if the Golden Ticket coupon code doesn't work for you, just connect with me, or here's my contact information, or connect with me through LinkedIn, and we'll make sure we'll get that to you for free. Oh, let's see if this part works. And clearly you understand I don't have a life if I spend my time doing things like that. So wanted to let you know, and Skip, I don't know if we take questions at this point, or again, where we are in the time. But I'm happy to connect. I'm happy to help anybody however I can. Reach out on LinkedIn and connect with me, and just Dale Henry. And again, let me know you're from the Crossroads group, just so I know, because I want to treat you guys special. And any questions about that program, or again, how to get it for free, just let me know and ask me there on LinkedIn. Thanks, everybody.
Great. Holy smokes, Dale. That's incredibly generous. Your fantastic program, $200 program for free. Wow. So make sure you all sign up for that. If you do, we have a time for a question or two, if anybody has one. Put it in. I'm just seeing. Thank you. Thanks so much, Dale. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate your comments. Jennifer, good to see you. Jennifer's asking, can the website be dropped in the chat?
Yeah. Yes, if I can type. Yes, I'll actually grab it. I'm gonna have to grab it off the slide so I don't make a mistake, actually, because that is not my
strength. Russell says, thank you so much, Dale. Teresa, thank you, Dale. Kai Carter, hi Kai. Thank you for the valuable insight. Chris, thank you. Elizabeth, thank you. Hi, Elizabeth. Tina. Yeah, there a lot of appreciation for your great message and your incredible generosity. Wow, Dale, that's amazing. There it is. Dale put in realworldsuperpowers.com.
Yeah, and there's a few different websites about that are all linked together. So if it's not exactly the right spot.
All right.
I know I should be better promoting this, but again, I just want to make sure people have access to this. So.
Well, that is very, very kind and very generous, Dale. Thank you so much, Jennifer.
You're very welcome.
Morning, Jennifer says, excellent presentation, Dale. Tina, thank you. Yeah, just flooding in here. You're a big hit, Dale.
And I laugh because right now one of my businesses, I'm partnered with my daughter, and we're training women entrepreneurs to grow their businesses or building teams. And I kind of laugh because we use regular Zoom, not the Zoom webinar, all the time in our training, and we're interactive all the time. I've been doing this all for years, and video conferencing I'm doing for decades. I still can't figure out the controls. You know, my daughter Ashley says, "Dad, don't even try to look in the chat. You can never keep up," and all this stuff. So that's, I still fumble around on that side of it for sure.
Well, that's all right. The content is spot on and excellent as usual, and we greatly appreciate it. Amy learned so much about myself in this one session. Thank you. I utilized the promo code. So excited to become more of what God has created me to be.
That's what I love to hear.
Thank you, Amy. Teresa, lots of good insights. Jennifer Kroll, thank you so very much. Yep, continue to flood in. So
hey, I didn't hear anybody say it was so amazing the way you did your music and all that stuff. So
well, I'm sure it's in
that anymore. I get it.
Just haven't gotten to those yet, Dale. I'm sure
yeah,
they're
right. I'm sure they're coming. Yeah, right.
Well, thank you again, Dale. Always a pleasure, and always great insight and great information. And a lot of people are going to benefit from it. So thank you again.
You're all very welcome. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
You bet. Okay, folks, I will close things up. We talked a lot about resources and superpowers, and Minnesota Crossroads has got fantastic resources for you in your job search. And so I'm going to share my screen with you and bring those up. So we'll go through them very quickly. I can find them here. Boy, talk about having the right things to Bill's talking about technology and stuff, and let's see here, where are we? Why is it not coming up? What? Nope. No. That's not it. I don't know why it's not coming up here. It's super good. We've got great slides. They're amazing. I can just find them here. Why is it not coming up? Well, basically, what I'm going to go through, and if I have to go through it just from memory, I will, because there are amazing resources for you from Minnesota Crossroads. We're affiliated with 3 churches, but primarily we operate out of Grace Church in Eden Prairie. And but there's 2 others too that hopefully we get back in person. We'll be at all 3, which would be wonderful. But the idea is to meet you where you are in your job transition, so we can get you resources that are going to help you in that process along the way. And the critical element that you need to tie into is the site MN Crossroads. Find that site, because at mncrossroads.com, the resources, oh, magic. Look at that. It came up. There it is, www.mncrossroads.com. It is a critical site for you, because what it does is there are pretty much everything that we've got is there. There are jobs that are posted there. Every week there's new jobs. There's information on just job transition. There's events. There is a networking at Grace that happens every Thursday between 9 and 11. So coming up here in just a few minutes. you sign up for it the same place that you signed up on this site. And so there's Networking with Grace, which is a great networking group. And so I'd certainly encourage you to sign up for that. 80% of jobs are garnered via networking. So whatever you can do to get in front of other human beings is going to be time well spent in your job search, because statistically, that's how you're going to find your job. We also have one-on-one coaching available. So if you want to tap into somebody's expertise and ask questions about looking at your resume or doing a mock interview or whatever you might want or need in your job search, there is a bunch of folks that are volunteers with 𝑚n Crossroads that are waiting just to help you one-on-one, whatever that might be. And from a variety of different backgrounds and careers and industries. So tap into that. And also we're big into prayer. We believe prayer is a big part of your job transition. And so please give us your prayer requests. There are people praying for you, even if you don't ask. They're praying for everybody on this call, and that does not stop. But if you do have a specific prayer request that you're kind of down and you're really struggling emotionally, or you got some financial challenges, or whatever it might be, we are here to pray for you too. The other thing is we have online classes available to you, and they're starting every month. It's an 8-week class that really covers every element of job transition that you can possibly fathom. Every element. Like I said, in my job transition, I'd started my own company out of college. I had no idea what to do or how to do it. And so it is incredible. You can see it covers literally every element of job transition. And so you get assigned to a group, and there's a leader, and there's a few other people in that group. And you go through over 8 weeks, every element that you'll need to know in job transition. It is really, really good. And so again, you sign up on the same website, you sign up for this, and it's a fantastic class. So don't miss that. The other thing is we have a LinkedIn group, 𝑚n Crossroads Career Network. Just a nice way to keep in touch with others in the same boat that you're in job transition. Because it's a great community to be in, to share ideas. And I found it helpful. I hooked up with somebody that was also in job transition, just to kind of have an accountability buddy, that we kind of held each other accountable, kind of going through the same thing. So for whatever reason, it's a great way to connect with people, and certainly encourage you to join the LinkedIn group, 𝑚n Crossroads Career Network. Other phenomenal resource is we have a YouTube channel. And the presentation, like you saw today with Dale Henry, there's a gazillion phenomenal presentations on the YouTube channel that you can watch whenever you want. So you just tap into 𝑚n Crossroads Career Network on YouTube, and those presentations are sitting there waiting for you. Nationally known speakers, authors, and experts in job transition. So you kind of got your own board of directors as far as helping you navigate your own job transition. It's phenomenal. So don't miss that. The other thing is, I'm very proud of my company. Thrivent Financial has had an ongoing relationship with 𝑚n Crossroads, and we're just a big believer in what Harry Urschel has built and continues to build in this fantastic group. And so we are there to support, as a number of other organizations and companies also are. But I do ongoing workshops every Tuesday. You sign up on the same place you sign up for this event on financial issues and job transition and other topics of interest. So if that would be of help, you sign up right here, free of charge. Love to see you, and think you might find that helpful also. This doesn't happen by accident. There's a lot of work that goes into bringing you 𝑚n Crossroads, every element, because there's a lot of elements to it, from this event to the networking event to ongoing events. There's a lot of moving parts here, and there's a lot of volunteers that give of their time to bring you 𝑚n Crossroads. Harry Urschel has put together a fantastic team, and again, all different backgrounds to offer you a wide variety of opinions and perspectives in your job search. So we are here. Don't hesitate to make sure you take advantage of the folks willing to help you. If you don't have a church home of your own, these are the three that we are affiliated with, Woodbury Lutheran, North Heights, and then Grace Church, of course, in Eden Prairie. They've got in-person and still, I'm sure, some streaming services and stuff. So tie in if you don't have a church home. The faith element is so helpful in the unknowns that the job transition prevents. So make sure you have a way to tie into that also. So that is it. I mentioned the book. By attending today, you actually get a free copy of this. So not only you get Dale Henry's entire program free, but you get a free copy of this book by Dale Kreinkamp, which is great, and it will be sent to you just by attending today. So we're so thrilled that you joined us. Hope you found it to be helpful in your job search. Reach out to the resources. You are not in this alone. God has a great plan for your search, better than you can imagine. So lean into him, lean into the resources, and we'll look forward to seeing what amazing things God has in store. Have a blessed day, and we'll see you next time.